What up, YouTube? It's your boy Bosco the Shooter, and I'm going to do a video right now in lieu of the bans that we just had. I'm going to tell everyone my B&T story, how I got into B&Ts. So sit back, relax, and tune out if you don't want to hear about B&Ts. Okay, so my B&T story pretty much starts 2020 post OIC. I'd largely not been paying attention to guns at that point for a while, but I had been looking to buy an AR over the last 4 years prior to that, and I just hadn't pulled the trigger, no pun intended. And the day before the ban, one of my best gun buddies, shout out to Dennis, he calls me, or messages me, and he's basically like, yo, there's this ban that they're talking about. And I was in this client's house, and I just decided to buy one right there, and I'm not even shitting you, I had the AR in my cart, so it was so easy. I just pressed, ping. So that was at maybe 10:30, and then about 3 o'clock I get a call from the store that I bought this gun from, and they're telling me that the CFO system's down, and I'm thinking, holy shit, what's going on here? This cannot be a coincidence, right? Cannot be a coincidence. And then the next day we got the ban. No one can buy ARs. Everyone's basically holding some sort of paperweight in their collection they've been using for the last however long, for me, since I started shooting guns, my first gun. So as you can imagine, I'm pretty gutted, and I start basically buying every gun that I want, that I can find, and I stumble upon the GHM-9C, and I watch a couple of videos, and I immediately buy one. There's only one in stock at Wolverine, so it's a no-brainer, and I end up buying it, and I've already purchased a ton of guns to preface, so I didn't really know if I wanted my girlfriend to know that I had gotten another gun. But I remember when I got it, it was just so beautiful that I couldn't keep the cat in the bag too long. I had to bring it out, and she was obviously aware that it was a new gun. So I guess you could say this is where I kind of caught the B&T bug. I found myself gravitating to the GHM-9 over any of the other guns, like the Sub 2000 or the Freedom Ordnance FX9, the Canadian Staple, even the Vectors getting passed up. And I found myself looking at the B&T offerings and thinking, I need to get these. I tried the TP9 on a budget and got the USW G17 chassis for my G19X, and I learned two things. One, it will not scratch the TP9 itch. And two, it will not scratch the TP9 itch. So around the time that I figured this out, I actually noticed that my local gun store had two TP9 USs, one in green and one in tan, and I ended up putting in an email offer on one at $2,000. It was listed at 26, and they hit me back with 2,200. I took the deal. I had a TP9, no more itch to scratch, or so you'd think. But then within a week or two, I buy a USW P320 chassis because I couldn't pass it up. The price is too good. And then at Christmas, there's a TP9N posted, and the price is too good. I can't pass it up. What is wrong with me? So anyway, up until this point, I'd never actually sold any guns. I'd only bought guns. Now I'm looking at some of these B&Ts, and the price is a little too high to justify me buying without actually selling some of my other guns that I'm not even going to use. And I see an APC9 Gen 1 listed for $2,200. And it doesn't show up in B&T when you search it on Gunpost, and the guy's French and he's written it all wrong, so this ad's just sitting there and no one's buying his gun, and I really want the gun, but I don't have $2,200. So I offer a really compelling trade. My Serbu Super Shorty glass combo shotgun, the 6.5-inch Remington receiver kind of situation. He's very interested, but he just needs the money, and he tells me basically how he's pretty bummed to sell the gun, but he needs the money. So that makes me decide, hey, I'm going to just post this gun for what I need to buy this APC9. And I post it, I find a buyer who just absolutely loves the thing, and I sell it for the $2,200, and I buy the APC9. And the APC9 Gen 1 made me fall in love with B&T on a whole nother level. It really scratched my ump itch and made me the official B&T whore that I am today. And from there, it really started to snowball. Soon after that, I heard about the APC9 Pro release, and basically the one problem was government red tape was not allowing us to get the Glock lowers, and I wanted to get the Glock lower because I knew the lower was pinned on there and I thought I could deal with that. So I put in a pre-order for an APC9K with the Glock lower and the telescoping stock, and I waited out. And a while later I get a notification saying your pre-order is in. So when I checked the website, I noticed that there's all these APC9Ks and APC9s and GHM9s with limited SKUs, and the prices are substantially lower, 20-25% lower. And I'm kind of shocked, so I immediately email Wolverine and I tell them cancel my pre-order and change it to this cheaper version with the limited SKU and the ump stock, and I'm also going to get this GHM9 Coyote while you're at it. So I sell off my first GHM9 to buy that, and then I notice how all the handguns on Gunbroker are just going crazy, and one's listed for nearly $2,000, and I have one brand new sitting in my safe. So I list it, and as you can imagine, it sells in like a day. So I ended up taking that money and I buy the limited SKU APC9 Pro. So I literally got 3 guns coming at once, only I've added a magazine to the order and it didn't go through with the payment, so they end up not transferring that gun for a good week, and that week is maybe 2 or 3 days into the handgun freeze. So I received the 2 transfers from the first 2 guns in like a day, and the other ones take like 8 months. And in that time, it becomes blaringly obvious that I hate the Glock lower. I love the gun, but I hate the Glock lower. And when the APC9 Pro finally shows up, that is extremely, extremely obvious. I just cannot stop playing with that thing. I absolutely love it. And most of the reason why is because it has the stick mags and not the Glock mags, the controls, everything. I just hate the Glock lowers. And those of you that follow B&T probably know exactly what's going to happen now. You guessed it, the SBC9 gets released, and I have to pre-order one. And I start getting the money together and trying to figure out how I'm going to get one. I end up selling my Vector and 45 cal and a Holosun that's lying around just to get halfway there. And then I think, oh my god, I'm only halfway there. And this is right around the time that the ATF had just banned pistol braces, and practically right when B&T had released the SBC9, so it was super bad timing. And I was just watching SBC9 videos on YouTube, and I start seeing people actively selling off SBC9s at like unbelievable prices. And I'm wishing, oh my god, I wish I could take advantage of this, but we don't have the FRT to get these legally into Canada yet. And guess what? I look over on Reddit and someone has posted the FRT for the SBC9 literally like 2 minutes earlier. And I instantly get a little too excited, and I look on Gunbroker and I see SBC9 penny auctions, and I sign up for Gunbroker, and then I get denied because guns can't be shipping to Canada from America. And after a quick reply that I'm using a legit import service, Gunbroker reinstates my account. I'm good to go. I can buy guns, which might not have been the best decision ever at that point, but that's what happened. So there I am, fresh Gunbroker account in hand, and what do you think I do? A bunch of research? No, I just bid on the first SBC9 PDW that I can see, and I assume someone's gonna outbid me. It's really cheap, and I win. And I was trying to make sure I got the best deal, so after that I was searching on Gunbroker for SBC9s, and I came across a 9-inch that was listed with a stock photo, and in the description it said it was not the 9-inch, and if you won it and you didn't want the 9-inch, you could get a refund. And I thought that was insanely lazy, but I bid on it, and I won for so cheap. It was like, I think $11.75 US. So this is insane. This is way less than what the dealer would have bought this thing for. I think that I sold some Kel-Tecs, like a KS7 and a Sub 2000 or something like that to buy this, and it showed up with a receipt. Way more, like almost $2,000 someone had bought this gun for and then returned it. And I shit you not, I was able to track back 3 separate occasions where this had been sold to other people and then returned, and I was the 4th buyer. So it's such a cherished gun to me because it was so cheap and it was just such a cool story, and it came threaded. It's one of the threaded models. It's super rare. So at this point I noticed like a mass sell-off on Gunbroker. New unfired Leo demos, apparently all brand new that had just been handled, and this company literally brings like hundreds of B&Ts to a show, 4 or 5 models each. They let Leo and military people handle them, and then they sell them big quantities of guns, and then these guns are sold at a huge discount. We're talking way less than MSRP, and the ones that I got, they've all been like super mint. So at this point, I'm really having a hard time not buying a 9-inch SBC9 because it is so cheap. And I hold off a couple weeks, then I end up selling more Kel-Tecs and probably my Ruger 1022, and I bought the 9-inch SBC9. Now at this point, I really wanted to replace my APC9 KG with the pinned Canadian lower and get an American version with the regular B&T lower. And I ended up purchasing a demo from the same dealers. It was just ridiculously cheap. I think it was like $2,450, $2,400 Canadian all in. And then I turned around and sold the APC9 KG, and I bought an 8.9-inch limited APC9 in Coyote from the States, and I think they were about the same price. I might have to throw in about $300 or something like that. They did come with a P2. Then the seller tells me that he has this APC9 limited that he had a suppressor on, and the buyer didn't buy it, and now he's basically asking me if I want it, and he'll give me a really good deal. So I offer him ridiculous money. I think it was like $1,800 for the limited APC9 with the stock, and he said, yeah, sure, no problem. So once that gun was registered to me and it was almost going to be at my house, I listed my APC9 Pro up for sale. The only reason I was trying to sell it was because I had the pin lower, and it sold really, really, really fast. And I used that money again, like parlayed it into another flip. because there was two things happening in two separate countries. In Canada, we had scalpers listing guns at huge prices, and we had people panic buying. And in America, sellers listing guns at super low prices and panic selling. So it was this give and pull, but I just ended up using it to my advantage. So I'm sitting there with all this money burning a hole in my pocket for selling that last gun, and I'm debating getting another APC-9K demo because the deal's so good, when I stumble upon an APC-9 Gray Limited, two of them actually being liquidated by a small dealer. So I called dibs on one, and as that deal's going through, the dealer tells me that the other guy who called dibs hasn't paid. And at that point, my mind starts to race, and I think two of the Gray SPC-9 Limiteds, and I try and sell my GHM-9. And like I said earlier, the market in Canada is hot, and it sells instantly because a lot of people are gouging, and I'm just putting up prices that are reasonable. So I check in about the APC-9 Limited Gray, and the seller tells me that the guy just paid him. So I'm in the situation where I just sold my GHM-9, the guy just paid me, and I can't go back out on that. So now I gotta get another gun. So I emailed this dealer that I've been talking to a bunch. I bought a bunch of guns through them already, the demos, and I asked him if he still had the APC-9K, and he told me yes, he did. So I bought that. It was super easy. The guy knew all my information, everything. Send the money, done. So at this point, I Run Guns, who, shout out to them by the way, awesome company. They had like 5 of my guns. They ended up shipping 3 of my guns in one box and 2 in another box all together, and I got them both at the exact same time. Picked up 5 guns from the post office. And at this point, I was basically out of options for buying any of the B&T guns, as you might imagine, and I really wanted a rifle, and I got the 10.4-inch APC-9 Pro in Coyote to replace my prohibited gun that I'm not going to mention, RIP, and then I thought I was done. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for my wallet, and I ended up seeing an APC-9 308 Pro on Gunpost in Canada for sale for $5,000, and I decided I'm going to make another compelling trade offer. Up for grabs is $1,500 and an SPC-9 PDW for your APC 308 Pro. And after I sent the offer, I read the rest of the ad and noticed he had no trades. Oops. So I didn't really think anything of it, and I went to bed. But then the next morning I woke up to a surprising message from this guy, and he was actually really interested. It was just more of a counter. He wanted $2,000, and I thought about it really hard. I knew I couldn't say no, so I ended up making the trade. And in hindsight, after we've had this new ban, this is actually the first time in a while I've seen some weird shit going on with the CFO. They would not transfer this gun. I shit you not, they just did not want to transfer this gun to this guy. He had other guns. His transfer to me went through in a day, but after about maybe 6-7 weeks, I ended up just selling my other GHM-9 that I had, and I paid the guy the full amount of money, the $5,000, which I'm actually super stoked for now because the SPC-9s are going for way more money. And I forgot to mention, but after I sold my first GHM-9, I ended up rebuying a GHM-9 because I just regretted it so much, so I forgot that. Most of the guns were purchased by selling off other guns like FX9, Sub 2000, KS7, KSG, 1022, a Mossberg 590A1, just a bunch of guns that I wasn't really using anymore. So yeah, that's my B&T story. That's how I became the owner of a Tesla worth of banned guns in Canada. If you want to help the fight, please give me a like and subscribe so I can keep getting the word out. Really need to grow this channel and really need to get in people's ears. Thanks. Peace.